Going on, guys? Bart here. I want to thank you all for stopping by here at the channel. It really means a lot to me. We're going to be covering a retro pay-per-view, not even a pay-per-view, a retro event. But before I do, I want to remind all of you to hit that subscribe bar down below. We're working the shoot here today. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you think about today's subject. And I want to remind all of you how awesome and amazing you are. But without further ado, let's get into a retro review, a retro event, so to speak, in the spirit of the upcoming Royal Rumble event. We're going to be covering the first Royal Rumble that the WWE had in 1988, held in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. January 24th, 1988, at the Coops Coliseum. Broadcast on the USA Network. So even back then, there was a long-standing relationship, starting even back then, between the WWE and USA Network, on and off over the decades. And to be honest, the concept of the multi-man in the ring at the same time match wasn't necessarily new. They had 20-man battle royales, if you will, but what the unique premise was behind this particular match style was that instead of all 20 men in the ring at the same time, they'll start off with two, and then in time increments, the other participants will start coming down. And what would really make the big difference here is the intrigue of the order of when the men would come in. Because obviously, if you had, now the Royal Rumble is 30 men. They one time had a 40-man Royal Rumble, and they one time had the greatest Royal Rumble with 50 men. In which Braun Strowman. I was gonna say Breaker. I was gonna say Striker. Whatever the case may be, it's Braun Strowman who won the first Royal Rumble, greatest Royal Rumble, the 50-man over in Riyadh, I think, Saudi Arabia. So he won that, but yeah, and then if you got in this case, in the first one, number 20, you'd be really in like Flynn, right? As like getting number 30 today in the Royal Rumble. But, yeah, so let's get into it. We had Jesse the Body Ventura and Vince McMahon as the commentary team. This is when Vince was still doing commentary. No one was really, the crowd wasn't really in on Vince being the owner, if you will, or the guy in charge, right? And I always loved Jesse the Body Ventura as entertainer. I think he's a very clever and quick-witted man, and for the wrestling business, he had the physique. He wound up becoming a pretty decent actor. At least a lot of people remember him from Predator. You're right, and probably other movies. That's the only movie I can think of him in right at the moment. And the back and forth between him and Vince McMahon were gold in this, because this was where when you can really have where Vince gets like roasted by Russo. What is wrong with me today? By Jesse the Body Ventura. I'd call him like a pipsqueak and stuff like that. There's a segment in here later where there's Dino Bravo tries to break the bench press record, right? And he keeps saying to Vince, "Well, look at your physique. We obviously know you don't go to the gym, McMahon." I love stuff like that between them two. And so yeah, let's get into it. To start off, we had Steamboat versus Rick Rude, Ravishing Rick Rude. And this was to um, Jesse the Body Ventura was putting like there's a prize, so to speak, like contest, if you will, that the Body was putting on, and this ended up being a match on like the who he would consider like maybe the two finalists, and basic man, these guys were pretty shredded. I'm not saying that dudes aren't shredded today or whatever like that, but man, the physique on Rick Rude at the time, at least in this match, was like, how do you even the dedication, my guys, right? With some people, and Ricky to the Dragon, Steamboat. I love both these wrestlers. Both these wrestlers were really instrumental in me wanting to really learn about the wrestling business and the history, and just really enjoy watching the matches as a kid and stuff. Of course, as I got older, I understood more of what some of the questions I had as a kid and why they would do certain things, but those things were answered to me as I got older. You know what I mean? With the with the kind of predetermination of the whole thing. But that still didn't take me out of the love of wrestling. I would say that this was probably the best match, really, to be honest, on the card. Initially, Ravishing Rick Rude won, so to speak, because he ended up passing out the Steamboat here. But after further investigation, if you will, the referee reverses his decision, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat wins via DQ. That's right, Ravishing Rick Rude was quite the devious scoundrel back in the day. Now we get into the next segment here. By the way, if I was going to give these matches a ranking or something like that, I would definitely give that first match, Steamboat versus Rude, like seriously a 3.5 to 4. That match I thought was really hard hitting sometimes, and yeah, that's what I'm scoring it. This next segment with Dino Bravo coming out with his manager Frenchie, and they're going to try to set the bench press world record at 720 pounds or something to that degree at the time. I don't know if it's ever been broken or not, or what the record is now. And Jesse the Body Ventura was there to help spot Dino Bravo, right? And so they started off for like 500 something pounds on the bench press. Mean Gene Oakland was there to talk to the crowd. You see Dino busting it out. Pause with the 500 plus pound bench presses. They add more weight to it to 600 something pounds. The whole time, Jesse the Body Ventura is explaining why you do the chalk on the hand, why you wear gloves when you're working out, the proper technique on certain things, right? And again, people were booing. People were not. I don't know if they were booing because it was just Dino Bravo and he's a heel and that's what we're supposed to do, or the crowd was kind of feeling what I was feeling, and this was just going on a little bit too long. It kind of took out the air a little bit, took out the momentum a little bit for me with this pay-per-view. It just goes to show that WWE tried involving real life sports stuff, right? Other sports into their sport, and Vince always had a thing for bodybuilding. He once wanted to try to do a bodybuilding league or something. So he was very much into the fitness like that. He thought by involving this. And to me, maybe I'm just looking at it from years and decades later. Maybe people were digging this in some way and just booing him because they like to boo him. But it seemed like the segment went on a little bit too long. And it seemed like it just a little too boring. Maybe it's because it went on too long. Until finally at the end they have the weight that would be the world record, right? And Dino Bravo seemed to have, like, he had a little problem getting it up, and it looked like Jesse Ventura helped him lift it up and put it back on the bar, like set, where it just suspends without anyone holding it. And of course, Vince later on is, busting his chops about it and stuff, and Jesse Ventura's saying, no, he really broke the record. There's no, I didn't help him, McMahon. You need to learn the rules. And so, of course, they leave it as it's an unofficial record because they weren't going to really have anyone there really, like, from anyone to really, like, so, oh, yeah, that's the record. They want him to have the record without having the record, right? That's why they gotta go unofficial record. Yeah, so for me, this segment kind of sucked the air out a little bit for me, especially being this is the inaugural event, the premiere event, if you were. Oh my God, man, what is wrong with me today? The next match surprised me a little bit because I almost forgot this. There was a tag team match, 2 out of 3 falls, between the Jumping Bomb Angels, versus the Women's Tag Team Champions. The Glamour Girls with Jimmy Hart for the World Tag Team titles, Women's World Tag Team titles. These were initially NWA titles that the WWE was able to spotlight and stuff and have on their show. So there was a women's tag team title prior to the current run that we know of them now. So the Glamour Girls are the champions at the moment versus the Jumping Bomb Angels. I particularly enjoyed the Jumping Bomb Angels a little bit more out of this match than I did the Glamour Girls. And unfortunately, I don't know the names of them because Vince, in his everlasting wisdom, mentioned how he didn't know their names because he can't speak Japanese. And because one was wearing pink shorts and the other was wearing red shorts, trunks if you want to call them, he called them Pink Angel and Red Angel. So I'm going to hire you to be on my show, but I'm not going to be bothered with knowing your name. But hey, these girls got to be on a show. I would have never guessed, because the fact that there was women's tag team titles before slipped my mind so long ago that it shook me to like, wait, what? Women's tag team titles? And I had to look it up. And it was initially an NWA thing, titles, right? But at the end of the day, the Jumping Bomb Angels win the titles. They win the 2 out of 3 falls. And here's where I kind of start feeling like they didn't have many matches planned and they're really trying to stretch the runtime here. Because you have the bench pressing segment, you got a 2 out of 3 falls match here. Now you're getting a Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant contract signing for a match they're going to have February 5th of that year, only a few weeks away from that event at that time, the Royal Rumble event, and they're going to do a contract signing with then President Jack Tunney. That's how long ago this was. For some of you fans may not know that name. That fan only may be known by your wrestling fan father or uncle, whoever got you into wrestling. They might be like Jack Tunney. But at this time of the story, Andre the Giant has aligned himself up with the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Virgil. And Ted DiBiase wants to buy the WWE title, and he initially approached Hulk Hogan to do that. But listen here, brother, it can't be bought, brother. Me and the Hulkamaniacs, we are not sellouts. So he attempted to hire Andre the Giant to beat Hogan and win the WWE title, to then just hand it to him. And we may cover that event because that became an infamous event too at the time. And this was really starting to, again, to stretch the time a little bit because, DiBiase and Andre are kind of like looking over the contract, and this is Andre, making Ted look and everything, and funny. It was funnier and more entertaining to me than the Dino Bravo segment. But like I say, you can kind of tell that there's some segments here where they're really just trying to stretch the runtime a little bit. But how this ended up ending is everyone signs the contract. Andre hits Hulk Hogan on the table, flips the table and Hulk Hogan over, and then they leave. Now we get the Royal Rumble match officially. Again, 20 participants in this initial Royal Rumble match here. And this was at a time that it wasn't guaranteed that whoever won the Royal Rumble will face the champion at WrestleMania. That was not a thing initially. That later came into effect. And then if we do eventually get to that event of where that starts becoming a thing, that's when I'll indicate it. And, man, I will try to go through this as quick as I can. Bret Hart, Tito Santana, Butch Reed, Jim Neidhart, Jake Roberts, Harley Race, Jim Brunzell, Sam Houston, Danny Davis, Boris Zukov, Don Morocco, Nikolai Volkov, Jim Duggan, Ron Bass, B. Brian Blair, Hillbilly Jim, one of my favorites from the childhood, the cartoon, Dino Bravo. The world's strongest man is what he was referred to as he came out, beating the record. Ultimate Warrior, at least by Jesse Ventura, he called him the world's strongest man. One Man Gang, and again, another one of my favorites, Junkyard Dog. That is the order of how they came out. And I will say, it wasn't too bad. I did enjoy this Royal Rumble. It was good to see some of these guys back in their heyday, their prime. It's, again, started off with Bret Hart and Tito Santana. I mean, come on, that's phenomenal to start off a Royal Rumble. Bret Hart was the Iron Man, so to speak, even though they didn't necessarily phrase it like that, but he lasted the longest. He lasted until the 18th entrant, as Jesse Ventura put it. The most eliminations go to One Man Gang with 6. And the winner chicken dinner is Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan won the first Royal Rumble in WWE. That's pretty wild. That's why I wanted to give that reminder that this wasn't something that now Hacksaw gets to face the champion at WrestleMania, because I don't know who would want to watch a Hulk Hogan, or if Andre wins the title, right, and gives it to Ted DiBiase on February 5th. Who wants to see DiBiase Hacksaw Jim Duggan world title match? Maybe people did at that time. I'm sure there's Hacksaw fans, but Hacksaw Jim Duggan to me wasn't someone that was world title contender, in my opinion. I enjoyed the character, but really, if you want to be, I'd rather have seen like a Rick Rude versus Hulk Hogan, or Rick Rude versus anybody for the world title. That man is, forget about it. But yeah, that's Bret Hart's the Iron Man. The one man gang was literally a one man gang with 6 eliminations, and Hacksaw winning the match. So the good guy got over, and the crowd was pretty happy with that. I think the crowd was pretty happy with the winner overall. Hacksaw, like I said, even though I'm glad it wasn't for a chance at the world title, it doesn't mean that he wasn't a popular wrestler or that people weren't happy. People were pretty happy at the outcome of this match. So yeah. Then we get a Hulk Hogan interview about the upcoming event that he's going to be fighting Andre the Giant for the title. Then we get into the last match of the evening. So that will even go to show you how much things have changed, that the Royal Rumble wasn't even the main event at the Royal Rumble event. We have another 2 out of 3 tag team. Man, I tell you, there was a time in WWE some years back that they wanted to keep doing 2 out of 3 tag team title matches. Well, this is where they must have got the dog eye, the bird dogging of it, because 2 tag team matches that were 2 out of 3. This is how I know they were trying to pad the time. And it was the Young Stallions, Powers and Roma, versus the Islanders, Haku and Tama. Not Toma, Tama. And the Islanders wind up winning this 2 straight falls. During the match, there was another Andre segment where they were talking about the upcoming event, because after the first fall of the tag team match, Roma hurt his knee, supposedly, and as they're taping up his knee, that's when they did an interview with Andre the Giant, and then they went back, and that's when the Islanders won the match. And then Vince and Jesse review what happened, and that's the end of the event. I'm going to give this overall event a B, because even though I did enjoy even though I did enjoy the Royal Rumble match itself and the opening match, I felt like this was too much segments to add to the time. I felt like, and then the 2 out of 3 tag team matches were like, come on, man, come on. I don't know why they didn't really build too much else around that time. I didn't know that. Oh, the Ultimate Warrior. Did I mention the Ultimate Warrior was in the Royal Rumble? Yeah, I'm not sure if they had the Intercontinental Championship going at this time. I'm pretty sure they did. They didn't even have a tag team title match. I don't know. I feel like I enjoyed the event more so than not, but I feel like there could have been some improvements. Just my opinion. But again, tell me what you guys think. And until next time, peace.